matchups where they lose out as compared to the other VG8 teams. Otherwise, Impunity is a very strong team. I mean, just looking at the point standings alone, Celsior going up against Impunity, we do see they are rather close. Impunity is at 19, Celsior is at 6 points. Not exactly very close, but then Celsior has got a chance if they do win this and other matches in the following weeks as well. Just a quick run through of the teams and the team members. On the side of Celsior, we have Destiny Stars, Spitfire 101, Highest Endeavor. And of course, on the side of Impunity, we have Quatavor, Kirchhoffs, Blue City, Death Q, and Inked.
And with that, I'm sure we have an amazing match ahead of us. So without further ado, draft is ready. So let's go into the draft.
The draft begins.
Right, coming into this draft, honestly, what do you expect? Because we've seen quite a lot of different drafts coming in. Some teams prioritize on that grace, just banning that grace out, removing grace from the entirety of the equation of team picks. And then a lot of teams picking up Baron as well. And in the previous game between Infamous and Enix, we do not see any Barons being picked up or banned out. We do see
that initial ban onto Baron and onto Grace respectively, and you know, it leaves open the choice of are they going to pick up that initial Roamer or carry here. They go for the Catherine, which in the previous matchup we saw was a very strong pick to really help them lock down those enemies, and now we're going to have to see what the response to that is. I wouldn't be surprised if they go for a Roamer, if they want to have a little bit more secrecy to their team lineup, but they could go for a Sky first pickup. I was not expecting that one at all. If anything, I would have said Elena could have been their next choice. But what's your insight on that?
I do understand the Sky being picked up because Sky generally is a good check into Catherine. Sky
I'm
is
disappointed in myself.
Sky is generally a good check into Catherine. Only reason is because Forward Barrage do not quite bounce from Storm Guard, so Sky can just slowly burn through Catherine's Storm Guard, and on top of that, just take her down to really low health before even she can engage. And excuse me. And also with that Sky being picked up, it secures one of the really good junglers in that of the current meta at this point in time. I mean, there are other stronger junglers as well. We might see Ataka being picked up just to counter the Sky, but Sky generally is a really good pickup to counter the Catherine, if that's to answer your question. So we do see a Lyra, and then of course a Box being banned out. I'm not surprised if Idris will be picked up by Impunity. If not, then Weapon Castro.
Just worried about how soon they picked up the Sky. Sky is a good pick against Catherine, but how soon they picked it up, because it does leave them open to a lot of counterplay there. And I mean, at the moment, it's going to be in favor. It's going to be in favor of the side of Celsior to kind of go with the counter pick to whatever is chosen next. As they run into the bonus time, and they actually go for that Cruel, making it the lane Sky, which is interesting. I always, as a CP Sky, lane is quite difficult. One, for the last hits, and two, because the minions block your abilities. But the minions also, in the positive side, will provide Sky with those targets to kind of position herself. I'm just wondering about this team comp that's coming out, though. Sky and Cruel, how are you feeling about it so far?
If they do round out their team comp with, say, an Arden, or if not, then an Adagio, or even a Batiste being on that captain role, then they might have a good chance going in. But then Cruel being picked up so early, like you said, we do even see a Sky being picked up that early as well. So Cruel being picked up this early, it leaves open for the side of Celsior to have a lot of counter picks as well. And like you said, going up against the Sky. One thing, Celsior in response, of course, went for that Celeste to be placed in the jungle, and then of course Idris is open at this point in time, and Idris would be the better pickup, a really good pickup. If not, then we might see Impunity pulling out a Roam Crew, because honestly, I still think that this guy will be going into the jungle, so we might see a Roam Crew, and of course topping that up, because it's just to throw the side of Celsior off. So we do see a Lance, and let's see if we do see an Idris. Or if not, then even a Castro. But Castro would not do well into Catherine or Lance. So I'm not sure. I don't think this crew will be. I personally do not think that this crew. Okay, you know what? I take back whatever I said. I really hope to see a Roam crew for no reason at all, but because I thought that the side of Impunity would just hide their hands and not show it this early. So we do see a crew and an Arden, and of course a Sky going up against a Catherine, Celeste, and a weapon Lance. I'm sure that will be placed in the jungle. So we do see double crystal carries in the lane, but then of course Celeste will have a better time in lane as compared to Sky, because like you said, Forward Barrage would be blocked out by the minions. And unless we are going to see a weapon Sky, and then of course a crystal crew, which is not commonly seen as well. But again, Impunity leaves a lot of question marks with this particular lineup as well, with this particular hero pickup.
Yeah, it is definitely one of our more interesting matchups for today going through this draft. But nevertheless, we will be hopping into this first match between Celsior and Impunity. So make sure to put your hype in the chat for which team you're cheering on, and we'll have to see how they play it out as we move on to the Halcyon Fold. So, you know, with that, I am almost obliged to just say Impunity for the Sky because I really, you know, DefQ, amazing Sky player. I believe in DefQ. I'm going to go Impunity on this one and believe that they can pull something through, that they get Cruel onto the right targets without getting locked down, which is going to be tough, but, you know, Impunity are going to do it somehow.
No, I mean, Cruel has been coming up and rising in meta as well. So I'm not surprised if Cruel can put in a lot of work against the Celeste, especially if Cruel do go up to lane to try to gank the Celeste. Cruel going for that tension bow, poison shift, just for that sustain, is doing very well in other matters. And also because picking up the Sky, one of the main things that Cruel in Southeast Asia is generally afraid of is that Sky, and picking up that Sky and then a Cruel as well. So one that can lock down heroes, and of course you have the Sky that can provide a slow with the Frostburn. You have the Sky that can just be there to harass just for the mid-range poke. And of course you have Cruel that can just stick to Spitfire and then reduce 40% of the incoming damage as well. So I see how the team comp might work out at the end of the day. But then again, Celeste, when he reaches level 8, as long as Cruel can engage hard onto the Celeste, just stick onto the Celeste and disallow Lance to give and wall the Cruel away, or even impale the Celeste, the Cruel, then of course we might see Impunity having the upper hand as well. We do see Cruel being placed in the jungle. Blue City will be on this Cruel, so I'm quite excited to see how this Cruel will play out, because this will be the first Cruel in the VG8 series in Southeast Asia so far for this season.
Oh, really? That's interesting. And, you know, really, Cruel isn't picked too much, you're correct. And maybe shifting slightly more into the meta. I think at the moment it's just quite hard for him to find the targets he needs to lock down. And going against this team that Celsior has picked up has quite a lot of appeal for that Celeste. So, you know, it's the right team to pick, and is good with their CC chains they can pull off as well. It's going to be tough for Cruel to get in there. But if Cruel makes the right ganks and pressures this Celeste early on, I think that Impunity could have a good kind of transition into that mid game.
Definitely, I do agree with that as well. Hopefully Cruel would go for the tension bow for that earlier burst, going up into lane to gank. I mean, the only reason a lot of Cruels has been run is generally because of the double weapon comms that we are seeing a lot in the other regions. And of course, I mean, in this patch alone, Cruel is just so strong. A lot of analysts out there have been talking about this even way before Vauncey played it, but then Vauncey just made Cruel just so much more relevant in the current meta. So we do see Blue City going in for the early invade, trying to get onto Devil, but not quite finding it. Spitfire might be caught out at this point in time.
As we move down to Spitfire, who uses the core collapse to catch out Blue City. Blue City able to run away from that one, but it's going to be a auto attack following. It does a fair bit of damage, but Blue City going to be able to get out alive. They're staying in the bush for now. Didn't want it back. They're going to try go in for the kill on Spitfire, and they find it, but it's going to be betrayed out onto Arden, and then another trade as Sky is there, able to pick up the Lance, I believe. Not quite sure how that worked out, but DevQ going to do what they can and just pick up one more kill onto this Catherine. There they go. That Weapon Blade obviously helping out. Initially picked up to just help in the lane in terms of getting these last hits, which, you know, not a bad item at all. And then able to have those triple crystal bits to make her 4 barrage just that more effective in the early game.
Yeah, we do see a 16 being picked up on this crew. A lot of attention is on this crew because I honestly just want to see how this crew performs. Firstly, crew is kind of out of meta in the Southeast Asia region. So it is quite interesting to see how crew would perform in this current meta. But of course, one of the biggest fears of crew Sky, like I said earlier on, is already picked up for the side of Impunity. So I guess crew would have an easier time, even with a high pill comp coming up from the side of Celsior, because it is really just high pill. Devil is going for that tension bow, probably Aftershock, hopefully not Aftershock, but then probably Aftershock. Or if not, then probably Tyrant's Monaco. If not, then Sorrowblade. That is one of the builds as well. And Cruel, we do see going for the 16s and eventually into a tension bow as well. So I hope Cruel's job in Impunity's lineup is just to be that front line, just to build up a lot of weakness stacks on the enemies and do not allow them to put out any damage on DevQ, and DevQ can just...
Well, it looks like Cordova gonna go low, does manage to get out that one, and Sky using the Suri Strike to very well position themselves, I guess, into their own jungle and kind of force that fight away from Blue City, who could have been under pressure. And I think at this point, you've got to look at the fact that Spitfire is able to have more farm than Sky, but only because they're being given it from their jungle. So I wonder if this means that in the end, the fact that Blue City is seeing at 28 over to the 13, do you think that's really going to matter too much for that Lance, or the Lance is really only there for the proc on that Impale?
I personally think Lance would just only be there for the proc, because Lance is just staying so much in lane.
Ooh, but we see Blue City diving on Spitfire, doing a lot of damage for Smite, not quite able to pick it up. And you can see how Blue City is doing fairly well for themselves on this crew, which is quite impressive to see so far. And I just worry about the late game, where Lance might fall off in terms of where Impunity have a full kind of team that's able to do damage in terms of a Sky and crew, of course. And you see Arden going for the kill, but not able to get it as they managed to catch him out under turret. It's a 1v3 situation, so not quite sure what he's doing there, but both Romans now picking up the fountain at the same time, so you know, it is fairly even across the board. I just worry about the late game because it's going to rely so heavily for Celsior around this Celeste.
Well, yeah, I mean, Spitfire's Celeste, Spitfire is known for his crystal carries, so probably might work out at the end of the day, as long as Devil can peel hard for Spitfire and just allow Spitfire to output damage.
As we see Crew diving in once again, able to pick up a kill this time onto Celeste, and there's going to be Fountain used on the side of Impunity. They're going to go in for another dive, but it's going to be Devil turning around with an Impale, and Blue City rushing in once again, does get impaled up against the wall. It's going low, and there's the Vanguard. It's not going to be enough to save him from the turret, however, as Catherine going to get the kill credit on that one. So a bit of a trade out there. Not too clean, but a lot of engages going. Definitely a faster pace game than what we saw previously.
I mean, for Cruel, you really just want to go up to lane, perform your ganks, and then try your best, because you're outnumbering them, try your best to take a turret. That's generally what you want to do as a crew. We might even see a prop crew, I'm not too sure, because I mean, at the end of the day, we did see the diving potential of crew, right? And of course the gank potential as well. We did see crew going up into lane, immediately taking out the carries, taking down Spitfire, and then Spitfire has got no answer for this crew at all except to run. And crew can reposition himself so well because of your passive, yeah? With the passive, you have the attack, you have the speed boost, you can just run away from Celeste's core collapse, and they can just reposition themselves so well. There is really it's quite difficult to actually quite catch you. And also, Cruel's job really is just tank up and soak up as much damage, which he was doing. And then all DevQ was just needed to do was just load up the barrage onto Lance, if not then Spitfire, and the side of Impunity would kind of get the upper hand at the end of the day. So honestly, I think the team comp, although really peculiar, and I don't think it's gonna. I do not have any like personal say anything against Crew. In fact, I'm quite happy to see a Crew being picked up.
As we see Blue City once again diving on Spitfire, and the peel is just not enough on the side of Celsior to stop him as he rushes him there, and didn't even pop boots. That's just how fast Crew is right now, and able to pick up kills that easily once he has the perk. Shadows empower me, I believe.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Lance going in with a beautiful impale does stop the kill on highest, but instead falls himself, and there's a beautiful gauntlet. Quarter ball already at that level 6, and Death from above almost catching out highest, gonna force them into the forward barrage, but they don't quite get the kill. And look how aggressive Impunity's being, and they managed to pick it up. DevQ not going to fall to the turret, and no kills being traded over for the side of Celsior. Impunity just going in and taking everything, playing this one so risky as well. It's just, this is what they needed to make it work. We talked about it, that Cruel needed to have this impact.
Yeah, I mean, Cruel really, if jungle skirmishes, I think generally Crew just lose. But then whereas if you are going to go out for gank, and it's when you put yourself at a number advantage, then Crew will definitely have the upper hand because there is less damage to soak up. And we saw as well Crew's diving potential. Crew can just sit under turret, and there is nothing that the side of Celsior can do in order to punish Crew because of the regen as well from Crew. And of course, with Dead Man's Rush, you have the health barrier. On top of that, you have Quartz of War to provide you with extra barrier with a protector contract, if not then the Vanguard as well. So you have a lot of sustain, you have a lot of health barrier, you are really tanky as this Crew.
Blue City just playing around right now. It does get impaled. He needs to be careful because if he gets caught out with a CC chain, it could be the end of him. But so far, so lucky as he makes his way around, trying to look for that flank. I think that Celsior know about it, though. Instead, he's going to go for a bit of farm at the moment. Just get himself nice and farmed up, because if we look over at the farm, is 10 CS ahead of that Lance at the moment, seeing at 45 over to 35, and Sky has now caught up with that Celeste, because Celeste hasn't been given a chance to go down to the jungle and take any of the farm away from their own team. So now Celeste is actually sitting at 100, and Sky has taken the advantage of 108, and this is why I meant pushing into this mid to late game. It's definitely going to be more in Impunity's favor by doing the strategy they did. And you see Blue City just running around right now, unchecked. He does get Giphy and walled, but he's going to be up to get out of there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to see Blue City building that point and shift really, really soon, because Tension Bow's ability will lag out in the later game. So you need your second damage item really soon. If not, that if you are going for the aftershock, get it really soon. If not, I mean, you got to stop building defenses. As Crew, granted, you have to tank up a lot of damage. You have to soak up for DevQ to output and just throw out the barrage.
As we see Gauntlet go down, and there's going to be from House Heart. Is it going to land? It hits onto Lance. They'll be able to pick up an easy kill there. Highest on fairly low energy and health, and it's going to be Spitfire actually having to back as well on low energy, leaving Highest there to defend it. I don't think they'll be able to do this one alone. Once those minions push in, they're in a bit of trouble, but you can see DefQ also fairly low in energy. Impunity have been playing a fairly risky game here, and always up in that lane, even when low on health and energy, they stay up there and hold their ground, which they're going to need to do a bit longer if they want to take this gold mine without contest. Blue City does have the stacks on it and is able to get, there was the blast tremor, but there's going to be no steal coming out from the side of Celsior. Blue City now moving up once again to this lane, and with a good idea there, because Catherine did actually back before, so if he is able to catch out Spitfire, could have ended well for them. You can see Impunity really have control so far, and the way they've been positioning and moving as well, and just throughout all these team fights, just they're the ones engaging, and they're the ones controlling how these fights go.
Well, yeah, because firstly, I call this almost distraction, yeah? Because what Blue City is really doing, at least the side of Celsior managed to take one turret off Impunity when Impunity
actually
was...
the first turret of the game, because even though Impunity gained these kills, they haven't yet been able to take an objective, so you've got to give it to Celsior for that.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly... Okay, so they are going to build into an Atlas Pauldron. Problem with this particular build of Cruel is that he's not quite affected by Atlas Pauldron anyways. Because all he really wants to do is just soak up as much damage, and then if he's Atlas, then at least he has his prop from Tension Bow as well, so he can DMR in to just put out a lot of damage anyways. So all he really just want to do is just put out as much mortal wound on as many enemies as possible, and of course on top of that soak up as much damage, and then apply witness stacks on possibly Spitfire on that Celeste, so Celeste do not do as much damage as well. So I don't think Atlas should be your priority as a Lance. Instead, as a Lance, you should go for another item, another damage item. If not, then at least go for cooldown, just so you can have your abilities up to peel for Spitfire as soon as possible. Because we are seeing Spitfire do not have any armor just to counter the Tension Bow from Crew, do not have anything to counter the Crew at all. So Crew can just dive onto Spitfire, and Spitfire, whoa.
Yeah, there's going to be the Gauntlet going down as well as the Death from above, and they're going to go onto the Catherine because that's all they can at the moment, but the Echo is going to be used, Gauntlet going down once again, and there's going to be the stun up into the wall onto DefQ. They really need to shut down that Sky, but they can't forget about Miss Cruel that's lurking around and ready to jump as he manages to find his way onto Spitfire and takes them down instantly. It's actually going to be the... Whoa! Spitfire turning that one around, but not quite enough as Sky able to use the Surge Strike to get around there and get the kill. I thought that Celeste would surely die there. They managed to pick off the Catherine, but Celeste pulling through with that Eve of Harvest, definitely keeping them alive in that situation. Yeah,
and one thing about Cool now that he has picked up that point and shift. And I must agree. I must say, Devil on this Lance actually provided a lot of peel for that Spitfire as well. So much so that Blue City had to consider his options when diving in. From Hell's Heart did hit Spitfire before Crew decided to dive in with Shadows Empowers Me on his passive up. Problem with that, Dev, you might be caught out right now. Problem with that is that once that's done, you kind of have no way to just maneuver around that Celeste. You have no way to just counter or just move around. And the only reason Blue City went down, Blue City survived for a really, really long time in a barrage of 3 enemies attacking him. He only needs to survive for a minimal amount of time before DefQ can output a lot of damage on the enemies. Problem with what happened just now was that Blue City actually took an entire Solar Storm in his face, and that was the problem in that particular fight. So if they can force out the Solar Storm really early, dodge it out. If not, then Crew can Crucible that out. I mean, of course, there are better like CCs to Crucible as compared to that of the Solar Storm, but then that is the highest form of damage Spitfire can have, and that is helping with the sustain from Eve of Harvest as well.
So far, Celsior doing a good job in terms of having the lane pushed up, and they haven't given over that first turret yet. As long as they keep Blue Zitty in mind of this crew, who's going in with From House High on Spitfire, does get blocked out, but the Gauntlet doesn't, and there's just going to be a whole lot of damage come down from Sky. It's actually going to be the double kill going over to Cordovar on that Arden, and they're just going to push off Devil at the moment while Cruel starts up that Kraken. I'm not sure, I don't think they had vision on that before, so it should be uncontested. Meanwhile, Impunity, the rest of Impunity, I should say, trying to do work on this turret, and they managed to get it. They're going to try find the kill onto Devil. Can Cordovar get there? DefQ going to use Surge Strike to get around. Managed to pick up the kill with a few basic attacks and gets the ace for the team. That's going to be massive for them right now as they're picking up Kraken, and Impunity really starting to turn this one around in terms of objectives.
Well, I mean, granted, you have the Cruel. Like, I think this is really just distraction. Instead of just trying to focus the Cruel down, which this is what the side of Celsior is doing, they really just need to go in for the damage dealer, and that really is the Sky. Oh, well, of course, Cordovar is as well. I mean, he picked up a double kill for himself. So, but besides that, they need to go for the damage dealer, and that is DefQ on the Sky. There is no reason. I mean, it's quite a dilemma, isn't it? Because if Cruel do jump in, he's going to put out a lot of damage and weakness stack on Celeste. Problem with that is that you're allowing DefQ free reign and free damage as well, and that would pose a problem for extended fights when Cruel can just come in.
Yeah, as we see the Gauntlet go down as a great initiation, and they managed to catch out Catherine, and they're on her own taking them out, and it's going to be left up to Devil and Spitfire to hold this turret, but I don't think they can. Kraken gonna push through easily. The best they can do is just try not give over their lives at this point. A massive Solar Storm coming out from Spitfire, but it's not gonna be enough. Gets DefQ low, but I don't think it's going to be enough as the side of Impunity have the numbers advantage. Doesn't get caught out by the Def from above, luckily. They might have what it takes to take this Kraken, however. And not going to get DefQ. DefQ managed to fall back just after that. Cordovar actually still in the base. I didn't even realize that, but now Spitfire knows, and so does Highest. I think he's trying to just distract them from that Kraken, who's still doing a lot of damage. They need to finish it off. There's going to be Spitfire finishing it off, and Cordovar kind of doing a good job there to allow Kraken to take about half health off that final turret. Maybe not necessary to die, but I know. Strats are strats. I'm not going to question it.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, they did manage to put out a lot more damage on the turret because Cordovar stayed there. So I think it's worth it for Impunity's mentality. At the point in time, you go like, it's worth it, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Just die, Cordovar. You took two kills from me. You can die now. It's worth it. You know, just do more damage to the turret. And this is basically Impunity just stepping up. Early game, they kind of struggled quite hard. Oh, this is something I like to see on Blue City. On this crew at least, he has an Aegis, he has a Crucible. That is 2 blocks and 1 that's team-wide. That way, Blue City can actually survive through a lot. When I say a lot, I mean stun from Catherine, silence from Catherine, if not then car collapse from Celeste as well. So, and Gifted Wall as well if you do manage to block that. So it's quite a good pickup. I mean, double reflex blocks. That is basically when Saul was better. Saul was kind of played like that. Saul has got some epic items, and then at the end of the day, he'll pick up double reflex blocks in the sense of Aegis and of course a Crucible as well. So it's good to see double reflex coming back as a meta pickup for the side of for Cruel. But then of course, I personally would think that Cruel is better off with a Bone Saw, if not then Breaking Point. He has got enough defense at the end of the day. He can soak up a lot of damage with the weakness stacks, and of course with the sustain when he popped the stacks. So I'm not sure why they did. Cruel just decided to go for the double reflex blocks, but I think it's a good choice anyways, just to survive through all the CCs coming out from the team of Celsior.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with you there. Not a bad pickup at all. Kraken is up on the fold once again. They're going to get flared out, however, but Cruel just sitting and wait, moves on to a Highest, and they're probably going to take out that Catherine instantly with the help of Sky. And you can see Fountain has been used, which, I mean, doesn't matter too much if the Catherine is going to be dead either way. They make their way to Crystal Sentry, trying to just get whatever help they can at this point, but they might be better off backing to their base if they can. They find Blue City. There's going to be this stump for just a second, but he's going to make his way onto this Celeste, and there's going to be the Gauntlet over the wall. Great positioning there. They are fighting against the Crystal Sentry as well, but it doesn't matter as they manage to get that ace and push through. And now this is probably where that damage they did to the turret now is just going to help just that much more to finish out the game in time as they push those ace-up minions into it. And they don't even need the help of Kraken at this point. They're just going to push on through. Catherine does respawn, but the rest of the team is too far away, 25 seconds off, and it doesn't look like Celsior are going to have a chance against this one. Impunity playing that one very well, especially with the Cruel pickup. We were questioning how it would go, and they showed us how it should go. You see Cruel and then does die in the base, but GG's all around and well played.
Well, yeah, definitely well played for the side of Impunity, whereas for the side of Celsior, it's so difficult. It's not even a difficult name to pronounce. Let me just call them Cell. No, I can't do that, right? The supporters would probably be angry with me. But anyways, the side of Impunity, I personally think that they've got such a much better team comp for the early game at least. They could have just invaded Blue City on this crew, but instead of doing that, they just wanted to farm up into the late game. They wanted to get their items. And in fact, Devil on that lance, he went for the tension bow. He went for the tension bow at his first pickup, did not do much at all besides take the turret. And then afterwards, he built into a Sorrow Blade. Even with that, he decided to go for that more supporty, captainy build afterwards with that Atlas Pauldron, possibly going into the Crucible. And then I'm not surprised if he does settle for the Fountain. That way, if you're going to do that, then of course you will not have enough damage as compared to the side of Impunity when they have a crew up in your face. Granted, you can tank up a lot of damage, but then you are not priority after all. Celeste is the priority. Crew is going after Celeste and not you, Devil, on this land. So there is no reason for you to build into a captain at all. There was no reason. I would rather you went for damage and then just outburst a crew, because crew do not have the burst except for when he pops the stacks. Otherwise, his damage generally is just sustained damage. So if you can burst crew down really, really quickly, then you can immediately hop onto the Sky and take Sky down. But then, because this is a dilemma team comp, when crew's in your face, who do you go for first? Do you go for Sky? Do you go for crew? What do you go for first? Right? So you want to go for the damage dealer, which is a Sky, and that is what the side of Celsius failed to do. And if you're not going to go for that damage dealer, at least if you want to damage the one that's in front of you, then outburst the damager that's in front of you.
Well, great point there, and I totally agree with you. We talked about the whole fact that, you know, Celsior just being so focused on Celeste only as their damage dealer would be their letdown, and it ended up that way for them. But that I thought we had I thought we had another draft, but it looks like we'll be going into a break. So, yeah, hold on to your seats, and we'll see you guys soon. Okay, producer said that it isn't a break, which is how I thought it should be. But without further ado, let's go into the second matchup between Celsior and Impunity.
Jumping into this draft between Impunity and Celsior. Impunity now on the blue side, and of course Celsior coming out on the red side. It's quite interesting because in the first matchup we do see a crew for the side of Impunity. So I don't think it will be picked up again. It was most likely picked up as a surprise pick going into Celsior for the first game. We do see a box being banned out. That's one of the signs when you want to play Idris. If not, then you're just stealing away laners from your opponents, and that is a good thing as well, because the more laners you remove, then the more specified you are. Which laner you are going to go for, which weapon carry you are going to go for. So you have an upper hand, especially if you're on the blue side in the double ban draft. Samuel is going to be picked up on the side for Impunity. So we've seen two different Samuels play. We've seen one by I Angry You Die, where he went Frostburn and then Broken Myth and Frostburn into like some a Clockwork, I think, and then a lot of defense and then starting to build into a Broken Myth into the late game. And then we saw Spaghetti's Samuel that went Eve of Harvest his first item and then Broken Myth, then decided to tank up as well. So I personally think Samuel should just go for Eve of Harvest first into Broken Myth, and if you have the ability, you have the capacity built into your Frostburn, if not, then Shatter as a third item, then go Defense. I do not recommend the Frostburn at first item. Granted, you have a lot of slow, you have a lot of CCs in terms of slows, but it is just not as effective as when you can just sustain in the team fights. But of course, Impunity might prove me wrong and just go for the Frostburn first item, which is the general pickup on Samuel anyways. We do see a Lyra being picked up on the side of Celsior just to counter the sustain coming up from Samuel. And of course, in response to that, Samuel, their second ban would be that of Catherine.
With that, it does leave open the fact that Grace was still there. But of course, they don't need to worry about banning out Grace since Lyra is on that side unless we see a proc Grace, which, you know, any chance to see Grace, I'm on for. But, you know, it could always be the side of let's get this right, who's on the left. Impunity, now on the blue side, could have that Grace. But I think they could even go for someone like that Arden just to have that zoning control. Especially when you've got Samuel with the AoE, you really want them trapped inside the gauntlet, and then you're able to put that damage down. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Arden here, even though the Grace pick is open.
Well, true. I mean, Grace is a really strong pick, and in the end game after with an echo is 3 seconds worth of 3 seconds. You basically channel for 3 seconds, and then you have a burst heal of about 3,000. In just mere seconds. So I think Grace is still a strong pick into this. But I must agree with you, Arden looks like a feasible pickup as well. If not, then Baptiste is as well a really good pickup. Glaive would work as well, but then Bright Bulwark is always a thing, so that must be considered. We do see an Idris being picked up, which is expected. Idris is just the next strong laner at this point in time, or rather the weapon carry. I'm not surprised if they will go for that Grace. If not, then Baptiste as their roam. I'm just hoping to see a Baptiste as the roam because Baptiste's roam just does so well against the Sky. Granted, you cannot soak up the Fall Barrage damage, but even then you can trap her in that Ordain and make her useless or rather not mobile. Not expected. It is just go to you. You were right. They are going to go for that Arden just to create a safe zone for Samuel to just kite and dance around in.
So we see that is the team of Impunity, but how can the side of Celsior respond to this one? Just looking here, the Sky is obviously still a strong pickup along with the Lyra. I would look at some kind of form of dive. The only problem is that Impunity have done a pretty good job there. A pretty strong team comp they've got lined up for them. And you could just get counter dived. So I'm not too sure what they should do. And it looks like they are not so sure either as they run into the last few seconds of that bonus time. And they pick the Glaive at the last second. A very versatile pick. But hopefully going to work out for them with the CC that he provides. I mean, we've seen that Glaive has been a very sought after pick with that, just the afterburn, the great positioning you can do within, in this case, going to be that weapon power. And we saw it before when Glaive went to someone like Baron. You were able to just mount them. But the problem here is you're not going into someone like that. You're going into a Samuel and an Idris. And the fact that Samuel is probably going to be able to sustain his way through a team fight, and Idris will be able to maneuver himself around enough to kind of stay alive there. And even if they have trouble with the Glaive, you've always got the Arden there with the Vanguard. So it's looking tough for the side of Celsior so far, but nowhere near impossible. Still a good lineup with the Lyra, Sky, and Glaive.
Well, yeah, I do agree with you, but there is one thing that we cannot overlook is the sustain coming up from Lyra. And Glaive generally just do really well against Idris because in the early game, you're not that mobile anyway. So if they know how to utilize the early game and this Glaive will not go for captainy build. Instead, Glaive will just go hard weapon, like that of say Sorrow Blade into Poison Shift and then double Tyrant's Monaco. Probably Glaive would have a chance, but if Glaive is not going to match the damage coming out stat for stat with Idris, then Glaive might have a difficult time later in the game when Samuel starts to have a lot more sustain with the Eve of Harvest. If not, then. But honestly, Glaive, I was expecting a Glaive pickup, and I'm not at all surprised because Glaive just works so well into Samuel in the early game. Firstly, it's either you can run away with the afterburn. If not, then you can afterburn Samuel if Samuel do come up into lane to gank you into turret. If not, then if there is not much of a lane presence coming out from the side of, or rather not a lot of lane pressure coming out from Blue City on this Samuel, then of course Glaive can just afterburn Idris into tower, and that's what we've seen in a lot of games, or rather the few games back. Glaive is just so strong against going up against Idris, especially in the early game.
Yep. And we'll just have to see how it plays out now as the teams do load onto the fold, this time Impunity being on your blue side, and it's going to be Celsior on the red side. Oh, it's going to be tough, to say the least. I do see that Impunity have a very strong lineup for them, but you pointed out the strengths that, Glaive does have, and especially if they put Glaive in the lane, as opposed to the jungle, so that could work out for them.
I mean, whether or not Glaive in jungle on lane, that really is not the thing. I mean, Glaive in jungle, you have your surprise afterburns. That is one thing that's going for you. But then Glaive in lane, you can have the consistent. You have much more farm. As you can farm up, you can get your items really quickly, and that would help you in the later game. Blue City may be first blood at this point in time.
Celsior going into the enemy jungle very strong and able to pick up that first blood along with a fair bit of farm being uncontested. I'm surprised Cordovar didn't try going to the enemy jungle. Instead, they're going to focus on this lane here, and is Spitfire as the laner of the side of Celsior, and that's why I said it's going to be this lane Glaive. So, we'll have to see what they can do on this Glaive, because it is always tough as a melee hero, but I guess if you're going as against the Idris is also melee to some extent, without the chakrams. So, it'll be all right for this early game, but I don't know how it's going to hold out. It's once again that question of how can Celsior's team hold out into the late game.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, in the late game, if Glaive do not utilize the early game, then in the late game, Idris will definitely out-tank, if not out-sustain the Glaive, especially if the Glaive do not build damage items to match stat for stat together with that of Idris, because Idris will generally go for Sorrow Blade first item, and as Glaive you want to go for that Tension Bow. If not, then Sorrow Blade as well. But then afterwards, the kit of Idris allows him, like you said, to be very mobile, and that is Samuel as well. So if you can engage, and because the side of Impunity, the side of Celsius do not have a form of hard engage, they only have Glaive for the initiation. So if you can initiate well and then engage well, then you might have upper hands in a lot of team fights up there. Whereas if you do allow Death Q or even Blue City on this Samuel to just poke you down to nothingness before you can start at your engage, then it might spell trouble for you.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have to see how these team fights play out. So far, that early engage by Celsior was the right call. You have that Lyra there with the Imperial Sigil to help you out, but Spitfire needs to be careful with the damage coming out from Impunity here. Does have the Imperial Sigil to heal him back up to a fairly decent state, and there's going to be the Drifting Dark coming out from Blue City, going to help them pick up that kill onto Lyra, but Spitfire probably looking for an afterburn here onto Def Q. It's just going to trade out a bit of damage. Meanwhile, Deity Stars is sticking, or Destiny Stars is sticking around and just making sure that Impunity doesn't push onto this turret too much, seeing as Spitfire is fairly low at the moment, but might lose some farm to this. They don't rotate into their jungle, and Cordovar able to pick that one up.
Well, yeah, there's one thing about Samuel is that we saw the amount of poke that empowered Malice and Verdict that managed to pick highest up on this Lyra. And the problem with Lyra is that if you are going to dive in together with the team, you are not one of those captains that is exactly super tanky. In fact, you lack all forms of tank. What you can provide for your team really is just the heal and the bright bulwark stop any form of initiation coming out. But then the side of Impunity, they can just poke from afar, especially that of Samuel. Samuel can just poke you down. Even you with bulwark, Samuel can just poke you down, poke your enemies, poke your entire team down. And then DevQ just comes in and just kill all of you. And that is one thing that's going for the side of Impunity. They have a better follow-up comp, especially into Lyra, as compared to the side of Celsior, because what they do, they need to pick one out. They cannot hard engage because this is not like a utility glaive, this is weapon glaive. If they do hard engage, then glaive might be brought down to nothingness really quickly into the fight. And also because glaive just do not have the sustain as compared to that of Blue City on that Samuel. So that is one thing to consider as well in forms of execution, at least for both of these teams. I mean, both of these teams, they've got the pros and cons. The side of Impunity, they've got better follow-up. And the side of Celsior, they just has got a better engage with that Bright Bulwark or Arcane Passage into Bright Bulwark. If not, then Glaives afterward.
Yep, I agree with you, Van. You can see Celsior doing a good... I guess, effort on this lane to keep the pressure up. But as soon as Blue City rotates back up, it's kind of a story changed around, and Impunity had that upper hand instantly because of that Drifting Dark and the immense power that it gives to Samuel. It's just a real tough spot for Celsior at this point, and you talked about how Samuel will have that early game kind of advantage by even when he got to level 2, as soon as he had Drifting Dark, he would have that kind of advantage, because whenever it's up, it just provides them so much long range damage. And you can see that the Imperial Sigil is being used, but now Sky is in a bit of trouble because they used it on Glaive, but Glaive once again really low, and Imperial Sigil is going to be up once again, but highest still too low to kind of even help with that, and they're just gonna have to back off from that tower. And you can see Impunity, they're doing it slowly, but they definitely have a lot more control in this lane when they've got the full team there.
Yeah, we do see Blue City going for the standard Samuel build of Frostburn. Like I said earlier on, before the match started, I'm already expecting that, because that is just a more meta build. If you do not require a lot of sustain, then of course the Frostburn, just to help our allies with the slows, would definitely help you. Would definitely help your allies and of course your team. But then, honestly, going into the team comp coming out from the side of Celsior, I don't know much about the Frostburn pickup, but then I personally think if Blue City can just accelerate the rate at which he regens with that Eve of Harvest, that would be much better pickup. And also because the extra energy as well. A lot of times Blue City has to back off because of the lack of energy. Oh my god, just look at DevQ's health, but then he's going to be alright to heal all back up with that book that he has. Sorry, not book, that is the
Poison Ship. Yeah, barbed wire. Not Poison Ship. I was wrong. You were wrong. We're wrong. You're right in the end, but it's going to be Impunity who are diving in onto Celsior, able to find that kill onto Glaive, and Sky's the only one left standing to defend this turret, and they're doing what they can, but they really should have gone for the minions there, as it's going to be the push coming in from Impunity, who are surely going to get that one. And Lucy doing what he can, well in the Drifting Dark, he needs one more shot, and he finds it! He finds it just on the edge, and is able to pick up that kill onto Sky, pushing their advantage even more. They have that turret, the first turret of the game, as well as 4 kills up to 1, but Spitfire going to come through that portal and find his way with Afterburn right onto DevQ. So they're not going to go out empty-handed, but so far, Impunity with the lead.
Well, I mean, Impunity is sitting at a 2k gold lead, and it's really looking strong 8 minutes in, especially this Samuel. There is no way to punish this Samuel, because Samuel in Drifting Dark has got such range and AoE on that Malice and Verdict. There is really nothing the side of the side of Celsior can do, except for hard engaging. They did manage to earlier on, but then Quasivore was there to just support the team, and of course they just couldn't handle the damage coming out from the side of Impunity, who I see Glaive being infused. They might be looking for a fight, if not a potential gank. But the side of Impunity will just back off at this point in time, probably going to re-infuse, just going to counter-infuse and go up against that Glaive or the side of Celsior.
And we can see Celsior pushing the lane right now. They want to get some damage down onto this turret, which they haven't been able to yet, but they're caught in a bad position as Impunity are going to push up here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a gauntlet come down from Quasivore initiation on the side of Impunity, and there it is. It gets stunned out, but it actually manages to land onto two of the members of Celsior. Maybe even a better gauntlet than they had hoped for because of Afterburn coming out from Spitfire. And now it's going to have to be Sky trying to back out of that one, but Idris going to jump onto you and manage to pick up the kill. Spitfire manages to land, but Afterburn, but is it going to be enough to get away from Blue City? Yes, it will. They managed to get out there, but Impunity are going to now take their second turret of the game. Meanwhile, Celsior haven't managed to even really land much damage onto this first one.
Well, yeah, that is definitely true. I mean, Spitfire on this Glaive, he just seems not as comfortable on this Glaive as, say, on that Celeste. And I do understand why Samuel is being picked up on the side of Impunity. Oh, Spitfire might be looking for more. Bootsing in, not even bootsing in, just riding on the speed boost from Imperial Sigil. Our Destiny Stars may be caught out right now if the side of Impunity decides to turn on him.
And that could be the case, but they do have the target lock available. No minions nearby, however. Defu is going to go in for massive damage, and there's going to be the follow-up. Sky not able to escape that one, and they're going to go and take the Crystal, Crystal Sentry as well. And at this point in time, they, DevQ game fairly low, but it's able to get out of that one, and there's going to be the Arcane Passage coming out from highest to try escape, but Spitfire could get caught up in this as well. It could be the Ace going over to the side of Impunity, getting more than they want. I think Spitfire should have really just backed out as soon as he could. No point staying around because all he has available is an Afterburn, and it wouldn't have been enough to save highest in that situation. Instead, giving over the Ace and the Gold Miner, which Impunity surely going to be able to take without contest, because Sky at the moment up in this lane needs to be careful when fighting against this Idris, because Idris at the moment seeing on that Poison Ship and Sorrow Blade going up against what Sky has is only the Frostburn. So
I know they did not get the Ace earlier on. It was a delayed Ace because Destiny Stars just popped out 1 second too early. So, but then again, they did get the Gold Miner, so it is just a big bonus for the side of Impunity. Spitfire is trying so hard to get, just to get onto this turret, but then Impunity, they can siege well, and generally heroes that can siege well they really just defend heroes well, defend the turret and objectives well. I mean, just look at Blue City. There is no way the side of Celsior can even dive in and dive deep to get a hold of Blue City or DevQ, because we saw DevQ earlier on near the Crystal Sentry when he was taken down really, really low. Oh, Lara may be caught out at this point in time.
And we see Lara getting jumped onto. Idris is going to be on there. Follows them through with the passage. Doesn't get caught out by the initial gauntlet. Actually, that's their team's gauntlet. My bad. But the DevQ going to be able to find the kill. And Spitfire and Destiny need to be careful. We're not sure why they're backing into their own jungle. They do have the help of Crystal Sentry, but I'm sure Impunity can take this fight if they decide to. And you see Idris going to be the one to make that decision as he turns on. There's going to be the second gauntlet dropping down. There's going to be Death from above trying to save them if they can, but Destiny Stars goes low, and there's the snipe coming out from Blue City, able to pick up the kill. But once again, not quite the ace, the unofficial ace, but Lyra up just in time to stop the boosted minions coming through. And we're gonna have to see what Lyra can do on their own. I would probably just back off and not get killed here, because you want to fight as a full team when you're up. You have to give away that anchor turret. There's no way you're keeping it, but Spitfire is nearby. I also coming into the fight. It's pretty hard for Celsior at this point. They're about 8k behind with the side of Impunity being at 33.1k, and Celsior, meanwhile, sitting back at 25.5, as well as just being 3 turrets down without taking a single turret away from the side of Impunity. It's looking pretty harsh for this mid-game when Kraken spawns.
It is really difficult for the side of Celsior now. I mean, I'm just, in my head, I'm just thinking of all the possible win conditions. But, you know, honestly, it was just down to because Glaive couldn't make full use of his early game prowess over that of Idris, and that was what that did Celsior in at this point in time. I mean, they are still trying to siege for the tower, but there is no reason that, you know, they will even get it. Glaive did not burn the boots, that was all Lara. But then again, like in the early game, they just got so much stronger. Okay.
Ooh, it's going to be the turnaround from Spitfire, trying to do what he can, but it's just going to get mounted down with the damage. Death from above not going to quite land. Destiny Stars trying to get in a bit of position, does not get hit by the Oblivion, luckily, but there's nothing they can do in a 1v1 against Blue City here, especially when they've got that Drifting Dark. They're going to get taken out. Meanwhile, DefQ chasing down highest for that ace, and maybe this time they'll finally get it. DefQ is low, but there really isn't anything highest can do on their own. There's going to be Crystal Sentry. Can he do it? Can Crystal Sentry do it? No, Crystal Sentry not going to be the MVP this time. Quarterboard did come in with the Vanguard and kind of making it a bit too hard for that to happen. You know, Spitfire at this point just pushing away Blue City, trying to clear out these minions because they know they need to get ready for the siege that is going to be upcoming with this Kraken push.
Well, yeah, and the point I was about to make earlier on is just the fact that Celsior has got a much stronger early game. I mean, barring that Blue City on this Samuel can output a lot of damage after he has, you know, the Drifting Dark, which is at level 2. But then again, Glaive going up against Idris, Glaive is just so much stronger against Idris, and yet Glaive did not make full use of the potential. And in fact, I must give all credits to Blue City as well. Just the standard rotation and the constant rotation coming out from this Samuel just really helped push Idris into the divergent path and into the late game as well.
Yep, and we now see a fight breaking out as it looks like Celsior don't want to take it in their base, and they have caught them out at a good time. However, it's going to be Spitfire too far away to help, and Destiny Stars might be the one to fall first as they do. And we now see Celsior in a bad position. They're one member down in a 2v3 situation with Kraken in the base. I'm not sure if there's anything they can do as Impunity make their push, and it's going to be Idris diving in with the Atlas Poltron. There's going to be the renewal on the side of Impunity just to get Blue City into the fight because they want to help out with this push, make it quicker and make sure they definitely get it because Destiny Stars is a few seconds away. However, I'm not sure there's anything they can do at this point as the Kraken has made its way to the Crystal, and it's still a 3v2 situation.
Whoa.
They managed to get the Sky instantly, just bursting them down. And there's the Crystal, there's the game. Impunity taking it 2-0 against Celsior. Expected of Impunity, and Celsior, you know, a tough match to go up against the second rated team for their first matchup, but you know, that's how it's going to be, and Impunity take that one 2-0. GG.
Yep, that was definitely well played, and it was all just down to the level of macro plays between both of these teams, Celsior and Impunity. Impunity obviously coming up, I mean, you just look at their gameplay and their macros and micros, they obviously knew what they were doing with their constant rotation and their timely rotations. In fact, Blue City was able to help out DefQ in that lane. And of course, with that, they kind of just won the game from there, just disallowing, you know, Glaive to farm up, or disallowing